Hello everyone, I'm Rob Smith of the In the Black Quant Edge VTF here, T3 Live, and let's take a look at the market here after all the razzle-dazzle of last week. It's really going to be interesting. We've got a lot to look at here going forward. First things first, S&P does the broadening formation. Here we go. All those bars inside, slight higher high, comes all the way back down, takes it out, then goes all the way back up and takes it out again, and goes inside day. And so what that means is it's an outside month, and so when you hear me say an outside bar is a fractal triangle, that's what you're seeing right here, the outside bar. Take out both sides, and now goes inside day. So, we'll see it any Monday when we have inside days and the broader averages and a ton of inside days. Do we get everything to break one way or the other for a simultaneous break, or does some go up, some go down? And there are some big divergences in these sectors, and so this is going to be a lot of things on the fly where we're going. Does the strength continue in certain things, weakness continue as I go along? You'll see, because QQQ inside day after the big outside day here. So the question is, how can the Qs get out of this? Preferably from a trading standpoint, we want the down inside bar measured move and take out the lows. That's preferably what we would want, because if the Qs do go up, there's a good chance it's a multiple inside pattern. And what that means is it's still consolidating until it can get out of this range and the QQQ. So that stays interesting. If you go to Apple, here you can see the inside day here after this big day here too. So the question is, bottom of the triangle here and try and inside day it back up, or down sideways and measured move, because at this point it still is shooting star after the slight higher high in the month and down. So once again, we would prefer down, but we'll see how it goes. Starting off as an inside day like many things. If we go to small cappers, this is a good example of during the day how we're deciphering the strength and weaknesses within the broader averages. And on Friday, with the Qs and the SPY going inside, that wasn't the case over here. And so we certainly had our trades on going into here. You can see this big broadening formation here. You go to the daily, or the week, monthly, and that's an outside bar, and it's still going to the upside, trying to take all this stuff out and take a shot at the all-time highs. Here's the bigger monthly formation, and now an outside month trying to take that up. No new actionable signal there would be the problem. So we'll see how it goes. On the continuation, we go to the bonds, TLT. Ow! And you'll recall this inside month calls the high, then it tries to rev strat the month, doesn't go, drops back in. So still having some issues here, but no new actionable signals. The good thing for the bonds would be you took out this range for potential bottom triangle like this. But anytime you go out on the lows, of course, it's going to look awful. And back to that monthly, you can see that there's a whole lot of room down in here to try and challenge there too. But gap and go, triangle becomes resistance on the opening, and gap and go. So anytime you do something like, there's a possibility that you've blown out all the sellers. No new actionable signals, is going out on the lows. If you go to SVXY and the VIX products, inside day here, and that's continuing to be interesting. If you remember the monthly on these, that slight higher high, and then dropping back in the shooter down in here, and we're potentially to try and challenge that. Didn't happen. So all it did was take the slight higher high out of that and the slight lower low out of that, and come back in the middle, and inside day it is. So we'll see on either side of that. If we go to the Dow Jones Diamonds, and the Diamonds really ripped last week, and here you go inside day, and you'll see that once again this heavy stuff in here, slight higher high, triangling back down, slight higher high, triangling back into lower lows, and then come ripping through all of this. And once again, if you go back to your, pull this daily out, like so, you'll see this right here, inside day trying to go towards the highs. And what was important too on those weeklies, often, if you ever hear me talk about a kicking pattern, this is what it looks like. When you have a long red or green bar with almost no shadows on it and gaps the other way, there's your kicking pattern. IWM the same, SPY. You can see that a little bit different, but you can see in general that's a very strong pattern. What that shows us, just like I showed the bonds blowing onto the lows, everybody would have said last week, like I said in the video last week, everybody's going to say it looks bad because it closed on the lows, unless it gaps up and starts powering higher, which we did indeed do. If we go into the Dow Jones, we'll look at Home Depot. And Home Depot, you can see this here. Question, is it going to be able to complete this higher high, lower low, higher high, lower low, take them out, and then come roaring back? First, you'd have to get through this stuff, and like a lot of these things, a big move, but an inside day to see if you can try and challenge these highs right out the chute. Because if you look at Lowe's Corp, in comparison. You got this inside day, but coming off here, we're still higher than that. Took this out, but if it's going to try and make a move back up Home Depot-ish, certainly has a lot more room. If and as it wants to, the aliens, but just inside day to start off, so we'll see how those go. If we go to Boeing went inside week and up here, and now trying to expand this. And so we go up, inside, right on the top of the triangle, then measured move higher. And that's good. It's just how much further can we go if we pull this out a little bit. You'll see this. Like so. So you've got this up towards 155. You're just going to have that inside day is all we got to start off. If we go to McDonald's doing nothing really. It's still, trying to hold down in here on the monthly. And for right now, inside day for McDonald's. So you want to be careful when you get this outside bar, inside, because that's a 2-bar inside pattern. We want to get completely out of that range. What I mean by that is if it goes down, it's going to have a tough time taking this whole thing out. Right? So even if it goes down, it might be a 3-day pattern or multiple pattern, and that's usually when you're going to get chopped up. So in this case, preferably we want the up, inside measured move of this and start attacking back up into there. So we'll see how that goes. If we go to Mini Mines got them good here on the daily triangle. We're watching a little tricky in here, but you can see that and what that's doing here. Remember the monthly was very strong and then went inside, outside, fractal triangle expansion down, and then right back in they face after taking out the lows and coming back up. So it wouldn't surprise me to continue that to go an outside bar like we're seeing in everything else. So we just got to look for continuation patterns which and signals that we don't have right now, but it's trying to get out of this and use this triangle as support. If we go to Mr. Softy. Mr. Softy's an inside day and outside week, so it's the thing about Mr. Softy is an inside day. It's still in all this, still an inside month, so it's still consolidating. So we can expect it to reverse back and forth. You got an outside week, inside month, and so a long distance to get out of here. So not expecting Microsoft to go too far. Once again, we would prefer the down sideways measured move and hit it a bit because if it goes up, multiple inside pattern if it doesn't take that out. So pointing that out. It is an inside day, but one probably we want to stay away from. If we go to Intel inside, go inside weak, and so we want to see how this relates to the tech weakness that we saw in the Qs. Does it go down inside weak and measure down like that, or try and pull back up? We'll see how that goes. If we go to Nike, you can see how poorly this has performed here. There's your outside bar. There's your weekly triangle. How do we get back up into this stuff? You can see comparatively with the Dow going to the highs. Still doji on the month, but coming off the lows to see if there's any hope. And so we'll certainly watch that with the rest of retail land to see how it can muster out of this thing here and see if it can take a shot towards this stuff. No new actionable signals there, unfortunately. Go to UTEX. There was a real nice daily triangle in here, and you can see when the triangles are too tight, you can get chopped up. Finally breaks out on the outside bar, bullish engulfing up into here. And what that did was full time frame counter to the upside with monthly hammer. After taking these 2 months out, you go shooter down, you go hammer back up. Still higher than that, so still trying to walk up, and it's still monthly hammering up. So that signal's still in force because we've seen a lot of this defensive names like Lockheed Martin and General Dynamics ripping here. So you can see this General Dynamics trying to break out of there. So we'll see if the UTEX stays strong on that. If we go to Coke and the defensive names, here's where the issues are really, and what's going to make it real interesting coming forward here. If you see the Coke hammer off of this, like so. No, just going to put in the bottom of the triangle here and try and rally back off this daily hammer because you've got Pepsi inside day down in here, and Pepsi presently inside month and down after inside, outside, inside month. So the question is this the real direction? And the reason the inside, outside, inside is important is because you have a contraction of a range, an expansion of the range, and then a contraction again. And if this is the real expansion, you get it out of here. So you'd want to stay below here if we go stay short on this thing, below that 104.05 here, because that's the fractal triangle expansion. Right now that's month and down. And if we take a look at the XLP, see this XLP trying to come back into this triangle after the inside month, calls the high there, the failed hammer this month and coming back in. So XLP having some issues. If we go to Procter & Gamble, remember how much stronger that was, but it couldn't make the highs. Then goes outside month and is expanding that. However, on the daily, a lot of this stuff, you can see this here. Inside day, like I said, inside days all over the place. The question is how they're going to do. Is it going to go down inside and measure down, keep getting killed, or try and pull back up into this thing? And a whole bunch of XLP stuff and defensive names certainly going to be interesting. HRL here, you can see this, and this is right now. Inside month and down, actually a 1 bar rev strat, and what that means is the inside bar consolidation, they attempted to take it the upside a little bit and then just ripped her right back down. So that's still in force. If we go to cheese ketchup, KHC, Kraft Heinz, inside month and down, that's still still getting the job done as far as the sell side. You do have these slight higher high hammer to try and see if it wants to pull back in. So this week we want to see, do they come back into defensive names? Do they keep dumping tactical? What do they do? I mean, there's so much divergence here to keep an eye on. It's good because we can identify that during the day and say they're buying that, they're selling that, as opposed to when everything's going, and sometimes that gets confusing. If we go to Post Cereal, you got an inside day there, and Post is presently inside day, monthly, inside month momentum, shooting star and down. And you'll see that stuff like Kellogg's, big outside week here. So that's a fractal triangle in and of itself, which means when you go to a shorter term time frame, you'll see this. Like so. Take all the shorts out. And start dumping again, but right potentially on the bottom of that stuff. You can see the General Mills similar to that, a little tighter, but we'll see how those go. You've also got CHD here, CHD momentum shooting star on the weekly here. Let's see, what else we got here? We got the Colgate. Yeah, and Colgate's still having troubles and going inside day, though. See if that's all she wrote, and they can try and go back up. Once again, even if it takes to the upside, if it doesn't take that out on Monday, Tuesday could go either way because it's really a multiple inside pattern. So in stuff like this, like I said, we prefer the down, sideways measured mover if we're lucky. Clorox looking the same. Dr. Pepper, hammer here, and so the hopes of the Dr. Pepper faithful of Larry is that you just, the hammer comes back up into these ranges and takes all and recoups all this stuff. Albeit, even if it does, it's going to have a hard time not being an inside week. And so, always looking at all these multiple time frames is important because anything that stays inside week, any change in continuity, a new day, new hour, anything certainly can change it back because technically it's consolidating. If we go to Hershey's. Hershey, this could be an issue here for the old Hershey Monthly. Remember they were trying to buy them out and they said no? Sometimes that is the kiss of death as it goes here, inside month, and drops back in. But 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 months completely within this bar. So which side do we take out? So if you look at this, it'll still be inside month now, but if this is the consolidation measured move, they come down and clobber this thing and take all this stuff out, and you'll see that on a shorter term time frame here. Tried to buy it back up. Guess what didn't happen? Stay up in there. So the question is whether it's going to come down here and test all this stuff or get worse on that monthly. So Hershey certainly on the watch for that. If we go to Kimberly-Clark, you can see this inside day in this real tight triangle down in here. And so the question is, what is this? Inside day and try and come up into here. Was it down? Stop them out, measured move, and blow out of here. So we'll keep an eye on that as well. Mondelez, oh boy, they got them good here. Mondelez, and you can see this triangle. And you can see this momentum shooting star here. Tried to rally it up and then down, and then just gets crushed all the way back down to the bottom of the triangle. And that's giving you the outside month, and that's how you can see the triangle, the outside month. So see if that holds or goes through that one too. MJN here. MJN going inside day to see if it's this triangle here is continuation. Once again, outside bar here, so another continuation triangle was here. And now an inside day, you got Monster. Still going to the lows on this thing, and the problem with Monster, if you look at the monthly, is it going to weak enough here right now? It's momentum shooting star monthly to take this outside bar out or these, and that would be painful. So we definitely want to keep an eye on that too, and that's JM. If this was the big blow them out, and then here your outside month, then below that, and trying to take all this stuff out, how about it's an outside week here, and what that means is fractal triangle. And so when you see the triangle, you can see it goes hammer potentially off the bottom of this if they want to try and bring it back up. So certainly defensive names to keep an eye on, and as it relates to the Dow. Let's go to the trannies. Trannies go inside day, and you can see here momentum daily hammer right here when you get a hammer on the highs and it takes it out. Momentum hammer going up into the highs, and we had every reason to believe that the trannies would be strong should the market firm up, because on the month they were still green on the month as of last Friday when I talked about it last weekend. We had every reason to believe if the market turns around, these transports are going to go, because when the market got hit 9 days in a row and still hanging positive on the month, market turns around, you got them trannies moving. So now you're inside day like everything else. On the weekly, you blew through all this stuff, right? Where here you can see this, while everything else was going down, trannies were still hanging around and gone. So no new actionable signal there outside of the inside day. So we'll see how that goes. We saw a lot of the truckers going. ODFL here, old dirty freight lines, going towards the high. You got CHRW going up here too, and that was inside week and up in JB Hunt trucker. Here is still monthly hammering up, trying to continue that. If we go to the airlines, American Airlines, and you can see this series here, and this is how broadening formations work as continuation patterns. Come off the highs, go inside month, drop, stop them all out in here, but good, and then repuke, momentum shooter, shooting star counters hammer, and then this triangle here extends all the way down and forms the new one. Now it comes back up into this. So the question is going to be able to strong enough to take this or this out. We've got no new actionable signals there, however. And if we got Delta. And Delta, you can see this here, this large monthly broadening formation, and then we had this 1, 2, 3 months, 4 months completely within this bar's range. And so this month when we broke through there, it was a 4-month inside pattern that then took out this mother bar here. And so coming back through all this stuff to see if it now can take a challenge toward the highs. Unfortunately, no new actionable signals as now. If we go to Alaska Air, you can see this also takes them all out, then starts moving back higher. And an inside day, you're just the problem with these inside days is you're going into higher highs, and anytime you do that, you're at risk of crowding the trade and exhaustion. But it is inside day for Alaska Air. If we go to United Airlines daily hammer counter shooter, and if you look at the monthly here again, you're going to see all this business in here. All right, and so they got them good in here. Took them all out, and now we're trying to reclaim all this stuff, if not higher. We just don't have any new actionable signals outside of that daily momentum hammer countering the shooting star. If we go to Spirit Airlines, Spirit Airlines is a little bit different story, nowhere near the highs. And so the question is this just warming up to start and take all this stuff out? Like many things, the problem is that we've already had a nice little run here, but we want to keep the longer term in perspective, as you'll see on a lot of charts that I'm going to show you today. So we'll see if that one has some more getting towards the highs-ish if they keep it going. If we go to the rails, CP Rail, you can see this doing nothing on the month, all right? And so the rail's having some issues here. CP goes inside day, and so we're going to try and how does it get out of this? Here's your lower lows, there's your higher highs, and you're right back in the middle of that thing, and it's doji on the month. So we'll see how that goes. If you go to CNI, same deal. And one of the things that we want to pay attention to, first of all, this outside bar here, and we took it and reclaimed it. The question is, are we going to retake this stuff and go inside day and use this as counter trend move and then really rip them to the downside? But one of the things you want to be mindful of when you're looking at charts, depending on when you look at like a weekly chart on a Wednesday, as you get into the middle of the month, is something doing anything? And right now, it's a doji on the month, and so you just want to be real careful there because that's telling you when things are not doing anything. Obviously, by the time we get to mid-month, or we want to see things that are bright green, bright red, have actionable signals in force, and we just don't have it. And KSU, the whipping boy coming in, and you can see they just gap it down like this, and they got them good here. They did. It's like, oh yeah, we're going to go up. No, you're not. but nothing new there. Just having some issues, and it's underperforming, as you can tell, because we look at the monthly and there's a bright red. So the question is, how weak does it get? Nothing new on the actionable signal force there either. CSX has been the winner for a long time, and you can see this bright green on the month. Now we're talking, right? And that's something you'd want to look at. And here you can see this momentum hammer right here. Boom, gone. Now it's an inside day, so the question is going to be strong enough to take all this stuff out. And all we have is an inside day near the highs would be the issue right here. But if we go to Union Pack, you'll see this, and this is potentially the outside month again. And they tried to correct him here and brings it right back up, and that came off of weekly hammer off the bottom of the triangle in here. So how do we get out of this? And if you go to the daily, you'll see this inside day. Like so. Bam, 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 bam. Take them all out, and now trying to take a shot towards that stuff. We'll see how the inside days play out on Monday. Going to certainly be interesting to start off. If we go to Norfolk Southern, here you can see this was higher than that, broke to the upside. It was inside week and up per last week's video, so that's nice. It's just trying to take this stuff out and no new actionable signals, and being on the highs is an issue because anytime you're up there, like I said, you're at risk of an exhaustion. If you go to rail, and we dug this one up during the week, maybe not on Monday, but you can see this. Nice, beautiful broadening formation, and right back to the top, and you say, there's no way I'm going to buy this thing. And one of the things I'm going to show you in a few charts today is that, when you take everything in perspective and you go back on the monthly charts, there's a discernible difference in looking at this and be like, I wouldn't touch this with a 10-foot pole. But you go back to the monthly, and you're going to see this. The lower lows line up right here and going outside month off of this. So when I say somebody used to be somebody, that's what I'm talking about. This used to be somebody, and if this comes anywhere near being anybody, this potentially in the long term has got some good potential. So we're just going to keep an eye on that going forward. If we go to the Utes, oh no. Utes having some issues here, like the XLP. So you can remember earlier in the year, they were just piling into yield. Well, all those guys who do that are now starting to wear it hard, and none too pleased. So you can see here, triangle them out, puke, boom, 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 boom. Then got them out here. Now the question is, we're right back on that level where you get that inside day. Is this thing going to expand? Right now, the monthly is still obviously bright red to the downside, but you got an inside day there. If you go to AEP, very similar there, right? If you go to Southern Company, very similar there. And so, just going to have to see, like I said, how all these inside days play out in the different things. If you go to Detroit Edison, this is a momentum shooting star to the downside. And the reason that's an issue here is because of the month. Here, this is an outside month after an inside month, so one bar reversal strategy to the downside, and that would be reconfirmed by that shooting star if they want to keep hitting it. So here, and there's that momentum shooting star again. If you go to ETR, you're going to see that same pattern, although even weaker. It broke through all this stuff. This is how those broadening formations become continuation patterns. Bam, 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 bam. Tried to save them, and then blows through it. But going inside day there, ETR, NEE. Here, another inside day, just challenging this stuff down in here, like so, to see if that can hold. Bright red on the month, however. If we go to the REITs, very similar as well, V&Q. Trying to get, how does it get out of this stuff? And when we look at a bunch of those things, AIV, this monthly here still would be inside month, but if we go to the weekly, you're going to see this bearish engulfing outside week, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 months completely within this bar's range. So the question is, was this outside bar fractal triangle now being retaken, right? And if so, is this going to be weak enough, this bearish engulfer, to wipe all this stuff out and take it lower? And you can draw it like something like here, and you'll see here, to break out the multi-pattern. So this thing's certainly going to be interesting here if the REITs keep getting pounded. If you go to EQR, there's that outside week, and that's fractal triangle on the daily in here, so inside day momentum shooter to see if this is the continuation pattern, and then take that out. If we go to Macerich, MAC, if there's any hope, got a weekly hammer now. Now that's a little bit different. All right, this thing came up and closed near the highs, and see if we can take that out. So if they start turning higher, we'll probably look towards MAC. If we go to triple N and letter O, you can see a bunch of this stuff that we've been watching this triangle for a long time. How they walk it down. Bam, 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 bam. See ya. Continuation, continuation. Now inside day to see if we can get back in there with letter O, very similar like that. OHI, good God, momentum shooter going toward the lows here. But like I said, it's also inside. So if you go to the weekly, you'll see this here. Now it's going to stay above that is the key, because then that would be the higher low. At this point, we don't know, but certainly going to be interesting in SPG. SPG outside week and Doji on the week, so that's somewhat a little bit better. And the outside week gives you this stuff. Take out the lows, take out the recent highs, and go inside day. So we'll see how which side of these things they want to take out. Start the month or start the week. XME, baby, go! And XME here. Remember, it started off the year like this. So we're very clean. Started off the year with a hammer and went gangbusters. Went inside month. Took it to the upside, went inside month, came back into the range and tried to do a rev strat, which is a hammer countering the inside bar. Didn't confirm it and went inside month, and now we're inside month and back up again in the XME. And no help from gold either. Gold heading south, and remember we talked about, when we talk about those multiple inside patterns, like I just showed you, it's something you want to know about when something's still inside on a longer term time frame. Inside week did get the rally going. But right here, because it didn't take this out, it was 1, 2, 3, 4 bars completely within inside that. That's a problem. Right? That is a problem because it's still considered consolidating, and it's made 4 weeks that way, which gives you a big vacuum back to the downside, which you got. Boom, took that to the downside. No new actionable signalers there to see how far it goes. If we go to silver, you can see a little bit different. Silver is an outside week, but 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 weeks still within this bar. Hasn't taken it out yet, right? So that would be slightly positive if it can start moving higher again and go inside week and then challenge back up. Or it's going to take this baby out and see you later and it's all over. If we go to the GDX, once again, that monthly triangle worked like a charm. It got right to the slight higher highs out of these guys, and then it's all over and dropping back into the middle here. It kind of looks like the IBB. If you look at RGLD, once again, here's the giant monthly triangle here. Higher high, lower low, higher high, lower low, higher high. Shooter down. There was an inside shooter down. Then tries to rally back up. Here. Ow! Straight up and right in their face. And now going to challenge all this stuff. And certainly when you challenge something like that and it comes right back in, not uncommon to rip through there. So like many things, it's already made a big move to do that. So maybe we get an inside day first, something like that. But certainly almighty challenged. If you go to the 60, you're going to see this triangle that just got them so good. Like here. And that's what I talk about. When they try and rally them and they fail them, this is why broadening formations work. Outside bars, breakout either succeeds or it does not, and it goes inside 60, does not. Puke. 1, 2, 3, 4 bars within this pattern. Ready, inside 60, and gone. See you later. Okay. If we get to the good part of the XME, the Nucor. All right, we got the steel. Steel had a nice week. Nucor is still inside month and up here and takes out that high. So, and starting off as an inside day. So the problem is how far a bunch of this stuff went last week and is now inside day. Do they need to consolidate? What's going to happen? Because we had RS do the same thing and go inside week and up. That was nice. And letter X, the momentum weekly hammering back up. Just, like I said, running out of signals here. And are things going to reverse? Are they going to consolidate? How are things going to look here going forward? TCK, the monster, keeps going, and this thing just won't quit. And on the monthly basis, it's been a lot higher. So, and it's going to start off the day as potential rev strat day. Inside day down, they say, I don't think so. Fill the gap and right back up. Potential rev strat day to pick up some TCK again. FCX, finally, outside day momentum hammer. On the monthly, that's monthly hammer after 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 months in this range, and finally trying to take it out. We're using the monthly hammer coming off the lower end of the range. But like I said, now it's going into highs, and it's a matter of follow through. So if we go to ATI had that outside month and took it to the downside, fractal triangle, and coming back in. So if everything's going to do what everything else did, you can see this inside day momentum hammer. If it wants to do what everything else did, it takes this and starts zipping back up and testing all these guys. So we'll have to look for continuation patterns above that. And Vale, nothing new here, but once again, a lot of this stuff, I call it getting caught up in the vortex of the intraday chart usually, but it can also be like a daily chart. And you're like, I wouldn't touch this thing, look at this, how far this thing's gone. Well, when you go back on the monthly, this used to be somebody. This is coming out of the dirt. Maybe not so much. So we'll keep an eye on all that stuff with the XME inside month and up. If we go to the financials, and what a week, YAR. Big ripper for the financials, and once again, kicking pattern weekly. And so that's something you want to know about here. Oh, remember how awful they looked on yesterday, on the end of last week, and then boom, gap and rip. And so no new actionable signals there outside of most things inside day here towards the highs. But on that monthly chart here, now trying to take a shot towards the highs. And we got the outside month to do it. You took this out, so now that's all you got left is the highs here to go take a shot at. Remember, we were looking at this the whole way down and being like, when can it start making a higher low or a higher high? And it did it here. And then slight higher high, when we know that's a risk, pull it back, slight lower low, and then bam, off the kicking pattern there. If you go to XLF here, once again, and once again, when we keep things in perspective, if we take this out, you're going to see this. The big broadening formation, higher high, lower low, higher high, lower low. Then you'll notice that broadening formations here on the monthly become a continuation pattern. Take care of business right here. Continuation pattern after taking all these guys out for good. And then off to the races. And so potentially it's doing it here again. And see this outside bar right here, that August big outside bar? All this business was completely within that bar's range, and that's why it would go down, it would go up, it would go down, until the real move came when we finally took that out last week, and kaboom. Now, can we all take this stuff out and make this the continuation here, like so? The lower lows and the higher highs, like so. Now trying to get out of that. So, nice. I thought they'd find that interesting, but obviously things somewhat extended here after last week's run in the KRE. The same deal, and really went gunning. And you can remember we've been watching this monthly triangle forever, and you got that inside month here, and took a while, but bam, there it goes. And never thought this August bar was important too. Remember, we took it out, then we took it out, then we took it out again. Right? But at this point, obviously a tad extended, if you will, but we'll see how that goes. I'm going to show you some long-term charts again. If we go to JP Morgan, I mean, right now, inside day, and just ripping out of this pattern in here, and you remember that, and here's the higher high and the lower low out of that. Once again, once you get outside of this thing, here's your inside month, gone. Now it's just an inside day up in the sky. Bank of America on the monthly does this that we've been watching for so long, and now trying to get out of this formation here. And Bank of America was real nice on the way. The inside months just worked great on Bank of America all the way back into here. You can inside month and up, inside month hammer here, inside month up, all right, and then the multiple pattern, but couldn't hold, then comes down. All right, but then down in here you got the inside month to go up, inside month to go down, inside month to go up, inside month to go up, and now resolving up there. And so much like that XLF, except XLF is much further along on this, but if you go way back, Bank of America used to be somebody, and now the question is this: the continuation, broadening formation, multi-year, just breaking out of this thing, and then take a shot at these guys. So nothing new on that, but thought you'd find that interesting. And right now, like I said, going toward the highs. Citicorp used to be somebody of that reverse split, and so Citicorp still has some room, hasn't taken it out. Came ripping back, but still hasn't taken all this stuff out. So we'll see coming to Citicorp. You got a momentum daily hammer to start off the week. If they say, yeah, maybe we can do the city, and you'll see something like this. Take these guys out here, like so. Triangle becomes support. And the reason that these broadening formations become support as opposed to people drawing horizontal lines, that's incorrect, is because it doesn't value time. People are going to move their stops up. Time passes, and as time passes, people move their stops up, and what seems expensive doesn't seem as expensive as time goes by. And so the guys who are trying to get out here still moving it up, and the guys who want to buy it, it looks cheaper down in here after being up here than it did when it rocketed up like that. So if we go to Wells Fargo, the much maligned, on the weekly, bang, 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 and now comes right back through this stuff, and once again, because of its problems, nowhere near the highs, but trying to retake all this stuff, and so we'll see how it can handle above that. If we go to BMO Harris Bank, what happened? Nothing. BMO Harris Bank does nothing on this, and so you can see this, the weekly, doing nothing, and so we want to see what's up with that, and if it picks up any steam or just remains laggard and dumps. But if we go to international, somebody was like, Rob, take a look at those international banks. I'm like, Deutsche Bank, higher, lower, low, higher highs, lower, low, higher, high, lower, low, and back up. And Deutsche Bank right now, inside month and up, and if these guys really aren't going to zero, it used to be somebody, you're just coming off of that. That could make it very interesting. And Credit Suisse here, coming off this thing here, and like I said, a lot of this stuff used to be somebody if Europe's actually not going into the toilet. UBS is actually inside month and up. So waking up down there, ain't they? And if you go to like the regional banks that really ripped, and you look at RF here and be like, oh man, I can't touch this thing, it's in the stratosphere. And you can see the weekly here, the weekly triangle, bang, 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 got them. And now rockets up into here, but when you once again, you go back to these monthlies, it's nowhere near the highs. And if this is just a continuation and finally getting out of this stuff, we'll see. All right, if we go to Ameriprise just got them but good here. On the daily, here's the triangle here. Triangle got bigger, takes this one out, and then comes rocketing all the way back up just inside day for Ameriprise. If we go to the insurers, not doing much here either. And Chubb, you're going to need to get out of this thing on the daily. You can see this. The slight higher highs out of that, the lower lows, and then going inside weak. So I want to see how Chubb can handle that in 2-bar inside week to see if the insurers try and pick up some steam. You got Allstate doing this, and I've been watching this tight triangle for a while. This thing needs to get bigger, and it will. So the question is, if you can get outside of either side of this, you better stay out. Otherwise, as we've seen, they rip right back through. If we go to Aon weaker, and Aon actually sets up for the Rev Strat week to the downside because it was an inside week. And comes shooting star back within that inside week. So interesting for that stuff because we had MetLife up, sideways, measured move. And on the monthly, and we're getting back up into this bigger triangle here. It goes and tries to expand it, which it does. It goes inside month, momentum hammer, and then back up into this stuff to see if it can take a shot up in there because Peru did it. And Peru triangled them all the way back up after the inside month and continues. So we'll see if there's any more in MetLife to join that party if it stays underperforming. If you go to Travelers interesting here too. Travelers takes all this stuff out, still higher than that. We're not going to call a hammer yet because this month is open, but if you go to the weekly, outside week, and so anytime you have an outside week, Go to the daily, and you're going to see this. Bang, 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 bang. Now, can we get through this and start taking a shot up into the gap? We'll see. No new actionable signal is going to be the problem for travelers right out the gate. If you go to GNW, I know this is a buyout here, but or take under, the question doesn't mean can't move. So we're going to keep an eye on this to see how this handles back up into there, because we've seen a lot of this stuff just go screaming right back up. If we go to Goldman Sachs is just ripping again, and like, what do you do here? Here's a tighter triangle, it gets out of it. But once again, on the monthly, can we take this out? And a lot of these financials after 2008 and all that kind of stuff, all that jazz. Basically this whole thing's been trading within this stuff. Now the question, we'd be able to take all this stuff out and go shooting back to the highs. We could use some actionable signals, don't have it. Morgan Stanley, the same. Used to be a lot higher, as we know, in the 90s. So certainly on the longer term stuff, the difference between the inside day after having this monster move, the question is, what's the real monster move, right? So we'll see. If we go to MA and Visa, going to stay away a little bit from here. MA, outside day, inside day, and it's still an inside month here, and that's where you tend to get chopped up, because you had Visa did take the inside month here, and it's just doji on the month. That's a problem, because it's basically doing nothing. You do have the weekly shooter coming back in, and you do have that with an inside day, but you need to get out of this thing and then stay out, and you prefer to be on one side and start shooting towards the other than sitting right dead in the middle, because it was the Capital One and the DFS that really went as far as the cards are concerned, because the DFS, you got that monthly hammer in force, see? Like so. Try the breakout. They think it's a failed breakout. Get them a hammer and then get. All right, if we go to XRT Retail, this is going to continue to be interesting. You can see this right in the middle of all this stuff. Now an outside month, and we've been watching this for a while. Talked about, what is this once it starts dropping off. And then it goes outside and comes ripping all the way back there. So the question is this the aberration here to expand the triangle? Now you test this and then somehow try and get through that to the upside. And there's a lot of earnings that just came out, and, a lot of fragmented stuff in there, case by case, with all the different stores. You got Walmart starting off the day as a hammer countering the shooter. Right, would still be at this point an inside month. So we'd want that to really start going, but just a daily pattern right now. But you always want to be aware when you're inside on a longer term time frame. If you go to Target, speaking of longer term time frames, still 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 months completely within this bar's range, and that means it can reverse on a dime at any time, and it certainly did. Oh, look at this. And this is when I say anything still inside a longer-term time frame, you got to be real careful, because it can reverse on a dime, and you can get murdered trying to trade in here, right? And obviously there are some daily moves in here, but then it takes the whole range out. Okay, finally it looks like it's going to dump, and then bam, right back to the high. So inside day for Target. Go to Costco, and Costco, you can see this here, to see if this inside day actually calls the low here, then the outside day. And it's trying on the monthly to go rev strat monther, inside month down, and now back up into that range. So that's potentially good. Not making the higher high was bad. Not making the lower low there is good. And, starting off with no new actionable signals, but trying to get back up into this range on the weekly, this business in here. Go to GameStop. GameStop inside weak, and I want to see if it can handle this and start popping back up through there, or is it going to continue and drop? Because if you look at the monthly, it goes down, triangle day out, trying to measure it move, and so the question is that completed, or can it retake this range? Starting off as an inside week to find out. If you go to the daily, you'll see this if you pull it out. He said pull it out. Hold on. Like so. Bam, 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 bam. And now right back to here. So we're going to see how that inside week plays out. GameStop. If you go to Burlington Coat Factory, the Burl, and you'll remember the Burl, we talked about the monthly shooter. That worked, right? Now you take these ranges out and trying to come back up into it. So you got an inside week for the Burlington here to see if it's going to continue lower, if it's finally corrected enough. If we go to Whole Foods finally on the monthly inside month and up, trying to come off the slight lower low in here. So if this here is the triangle, we're coming off the lows in the Whole Foods. And if so, we got the monthly and we got the daily momentum hammer to try and get out of all this stuff. So you can see right in here, they did not make this easy to stay in on this thing, right? And so oftentimes when it does come up in here, people who have been chopped up like in here, and they see a move like this, they're like, there's no way I'm touching this thing now. I know it's going to reverse on me. However, it's inside month and up and daily momentum hammer to start off the week. If we go to bloodbath and beyond, they got them good in here too. Look like here, your triangle becomes resistance, drops in, but then the outside bar fractal triangle back in, inside day to see if we can complete all this stuff like so many things have. And on the monthly, you see it just looked like arse breaking these guys, but then when it goes down there, it doesn't stay there. The question is, we're going to be strong enough to go outside month like everything else, or many other things, and right now inside day to start off the week. If we go to CON trying to go 1 bar rev strat, and that's 2 months completely within this range, but it tried to take the bottom part of this one, and so the upper part would be 1078 if it can do it. And as you can see, it used to be somebody and trying to come off the lows here, and so to take a shot at that rev strat month, you've got an inside day. So the inside day, here's your lower lows. The question is, you can be strong enough to take all this stuff out and go up, momentum hammer inside day and take it out. CONN. If you go to DG got them good there too. And the weekly potential rough strat here did not confirm and comes and takes these guys out. Now, how much more does it have in the tank? It is monthly hammer and up, but it's taken that out. It needs a tall order to take this baby out. And so oftentimes, even if they do, it's a creeper and it's a lot of chop. It is hammer and up, so we'll respect that. Nordstrom. And Nordstrom comes out, takes all this stuff out, and you'll see this here. Triangle series like this, and here's the bigger one, and now it comes through here, comes in and tests it, and this is a momentum hammer. So going into the highs, momentum hammer. So we'll see how that can handle above Friday's highs, 59.18. Go to Lulubell, and Lulubell tight triangle. How are you going to get out of this? And Lulubell is a doji on the month, which is the problem here. You're an inside doji, so it's technically really doing nothing. But you do have this inside day to try to attempt to expand this, and so we definitely keep an eye on that. But we definitely be aware of the next day, because anytime you got that inside doji month, as this far into the month, you want to be aware of that. Macy's inside day, and remember Macy's talked about this thing here, and then this multiple inside month pattern, now taking it out, right? So I want to stay up above this thing, and you got an inside day to do it here. O'Reilly's. And O'Reilly's, we know how strong this thing's been. Then we got the higher high, drops back in, takes these lows out, but still higher than that. And on the weekly, does this, potential rev strat back up. She said, hold on a minute. This is inside bar countered with hammer after taking that out. Still have to take all this business out, but we'll see how powerful that is if we can take it out to the upside with all this retail stuff. It also starts off as an inside day. If we go to Pier 1, and Pier 1, another used to be somebody and going inside month and up. So if there's any hope here, this baby's been up in the 20s or so, and now inside month and up. RH used to be somebody, and you'll see all this in here. And now that it's down in here, so we've seen a lot of these formations not only go from one side to the other, but keep going. So you've taken a bunch of this stuff out, but now you're an inside day, and would be nice, you take a shot at that stuff, if they're really turning around here. So we got an inside day for RH to keep an eye on. RL. Inside day trying to get out of this, and the RL, remember, we've been watching this monthly for a long time. This baby fell apart, got him good in here, then peaked, and now all this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 months completely within this bar's range. So I want to see if we can set up to get outside of that and get back up into this and all that stuff, and then you got all this stuff to go after. So be aware of that. But it's an inside day. RL, SHLD. Inside day for the SHLD. and used to be somebody. And so if they're really turning all this stuff around, like I said, used to be somebody and trying to come off of that. So you got just an inside day. It was inside week and up last week. But we're going to keep these things in perspective when you see these things. I'm not buying up here. Like, we'll keep an eye on it. Staples. Inside day for Staples. Here's that hammer. RevStrat here and up into there. Now an inside day. And if you take a look at the monthly, coming off of this, and like I said, used to be somebody. And, we'll see. Christmas is coming. I need a stapler gun. All right, we got TJ Maxx. TJ Maxx. Inside day here. This baby's tight, all right, and we're trying to get out of there. But it's trying to do that outside month like a lot of other things. So we'll keep an eye on that, all them together. If we go to crude Earl, you recall on Friday, was inside day and down, which reconfirmed the RevStrat month to the downside. So you still got an issue here. And what I mean by RevStrat month here, inside month, countered by coming back into the range and then taking it down. So the question is, how are we going to get out of all this stuff? So crude oil definitely challenged here, and that's, like I said, divergences in the market. You got XLE as a doji on the month. XOP here, doji on the month. OIH, still stuck in all this range, and so there's a lot of potential here, but until we can get a discernible move out of here and to see if the oil can really start tanking off of this, when you look at these charts, you can see that in general doing nothing, but eventually everything does move. So we go to Chevron, and the Chevron, let's go to the weekly. So the question here on the weekly is, you took these guys out to the highs and now go shooter. So if we're really going to do nothing, here's that inside week to the downside, right? Inside week calls the low. Inside then outside week to get up in here. Now shooter to see if it's going to drop back into this range. So if we go to Exxon, you can see this mess in here. You get killed in here. You get murdered in there. And that's why last month was an inside month. It's consolidating, and that's when you get killed. So the good thing is it took out the inside month and came back up. But it's a 2-month pattern. Still needs to get outside of this bar regardless of that. So right now, Exxon chop shop here. You get killed in, you get killed in here. So prefer to look at that Chevron if they start coming in off that top old triangle. If you get APA, inside day, outside day, but APA does go inside week. So I want to see if that lower low inside week can back up or down inside week and measure it back into this stuff. If we go to CLR also an inside week to see if it goes down, sideways, measured move and takes this outside bar out to the downside, or can hold and come back up. Still red on the month. So at this point, really prefer some of that good old-fashioned Earl Pekin. If we go to LPI, another inside week here, just not doing too much, but we'll respect the inside weeks because we want to see how all these equilibriums break. If we go to EOG, also an inside week. The problem there was going to be Doji month. It's doing nothing, right? So we want to be aware of that. We just want to be always want to look at all the time frames, but we're going to see if that underlier can give us anything to sink our teeth into. Here's the monthly PXD, and here's that triangle where it's not strong enough to take out the highs yet, and then go shooter back in. How are we going to get out of this for right now? You got inside week for PXD to see if these lows get taken out again, or if we can hold and try and come back up through that. If we go to XEC talked about that weekly shooter up into here to see if it can take that triangle back down, which it did, because on the monthly, once again, that multiple month where it couldn't take out the highs, if this is a corrective triangle of the real move, this thing gets slammed, and so far it's well off the highs. It is still monthly shooter down, but now inside week here for XEC. If we go to Oxy, Peg, and what a beaut, that inside week here to take out the inside month and down. So it's still inside month and down. You've just taken all this stuff out. We want to see how weak that stays. If we go to NFX, Another inside month off the slight higher high on the monthly here. So we knew that one, right? Now it's inside month back to the downside. We'll see if that reconfirms. At this present time, the weekly would be momentum shooter to try and take this stuff out. Combination, if we go to BP, remember, went inside week and then dumped into here. So BP presently is just monthly shooter to the downside here, trying to take out this range. Couldn't take out that. Goes shooter. Is presently shooter down on the month. So we look for reconfirmation on the weekly, the daily, and the 60. If we go to Conoco, pig, doji month, doing nothing. But it is RevStrat week off slight higher high. Inside week countered with shooter to see if this here, and then can come down and challenge all this stuff if we get a nice move off that RevStrat down. If we go to Carrizo, and Carrizo a little bit better, as it goes daily RevStrat to the upside potential here, inside bar countered with hammer. But in general, you know, it's still stuck in no man's land for the most part. We just need to compare all these things should oil go one way or the other. CWEI, the monster. And this thing, triangle support, comes down, tests it, goes back up, RevStrat day to the upside. Inside day countered with hammer if they want to continue to stick it to them. And they have been sticking it to them in this thing. Oh, how they want to short it, but she just don't go down as of yet. So we'll see how that goes. If we go to Concho here, once again, that monthly pattern we saw, lower low, higher high, lower low, higher high, and that alerted us to some issues, potentially. Then it went in, didn't quite go inside week, but dropped in. But now it rallies up, and now momentum shooter to the downside after this rally up all the way back to the lows of the week. So I'm going to be really aware of this momentum shooter on the weekly below that, because if we go to the daily, you're going to see this. Here, and if they got them in here like that, and they can take all this stuff out, we got all this stuff down in here to go after. So certainly interesting in the Concho. If we go to SM Energy, SM just well-defined broadening formation here. You can see this on the daily, and if you go to the weekly, you'll see this. I don't think it's inside week. Not quite an inside week, but you can see this series in here. So if they start rallying them, we'll see that, you know, try and come off of that stuff. If we go to GPOR Piggy, but weekly hammer here to see if they got them. You can see they got them here, the slight higher high. You'll see the lower low and the slight lower low hammer, and so I want to keep an eye on this weekly hammer for sure. If we go to, because another good thing about this thing is if it takes the weekly hammer, the monthly opening's right here, and you can take that thing full time frame continuity back to the upside pretty quick if they want to get this thing going. If we go to SU, the problem here is this range, right? Here's the range, and it gets out of it. Now, if it drops back in here, it's going to be weak enough to take this whole range back to the downside. Right now, you got weekly shooter to see how that goes, because you do have still inside month. And so if that thing's consolidating because it's still an inside month, not uncommon to go try and test, back into this range. And if so, that could be a little trouble for SU. If you go to MRO, no new actionable signals here, but this monthly, remember, the yield used to be somebody. And how are we going to get out of this would be the question. If you go to the weekly, it's come in a few times here and here and here and continues to go back higher. Now it's a slight higher high off of this, which is a bit of a concern. But in general, still trying to walk up, and it does start off the week with momentum hammer to try and take a shot at this stuff here. If we go to Parsley PE, inside day and down, you can see that, and what that sets up on the weekly. Once again, another one that's really been a gunner, but it goes shooter, back into the triangle, hammer, countered with shooter. So this is just some mid-range stuff. Certainly going to be aware of below that to see if there's any more heat. If we go to Earl Services, Slob, the problem with Slob here is doing nothing. And how are we going to get out of this? Look at this. Doji. Take a shot at the upside. Take a shot at the downside. Take a shot at the upside. Now do nothing. Look at this. How tight the opening and closing range is for the last 3 months. So you really want to be careful in this Slob. And if you go to Halliburton, A little better. Still would be an inside month, but it is green. And remember last week, went RevStrat week to the upside, inside bar, countered with that. But how far it's going to get out of here is a whole other story because it's still inside month. If we go to NOV, the hopes here is this inside month, and it took the inside month down. It comes back into that range. That's potentially good. Not immediately out the chute, but certainly that they test a range and recover. We can always know that if we look at a daily, you're going to see this. Like so. Bam, 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 bam. And so the question is going to be strong enough to take all that stuff out. We'll see. We could use some additional actionable signals and probably a little help from the underlier. Baker Hughes. Now, the question is, what is this? Up, sideways, inside day measured move, and try and take a shot at that. And so if you take a look at that, that's going to give you the inside week. Like so. It's a big range to get out of, so you got to make sure if it breaks either side of this, it's got to take that out or that out. Otherwise, it will have a tendency to reverse back into the range. If we go to Diamond Offshore, Diamond Offshore still inside month to the downside here if they want to finish it off. This is still higher than that, but it's inside month to the downside. If you look at Riggy, Rig stuck in a tight range, but if you look at the rig here, you're going to see this, and tight triangles can be very difficult, but you want to be able to identify them. So here, you can see this here in the rig. Take out the slight higher high, take out the lower low, and now you're stuck in this business in here. And that's when you have those ranges, you can get killed in here, right? You can get murdered here. But we'll see how the Diamond Offshore can get her going. OII offshore here. Inside day here, and we know what this thing's been doing is pig. All right, outside month. It would still be an inside month at this point. But right now on the weekly, you're going to see this. Potential RevStrat, but it's a 2-week inside pattern. All right, so both of these here completely within that bar's range, but it would be a RevStrat to the upside because it was inside bar, opens and closes back in. So to take at least these two out, tough to take this business out. So even if it does, because people put their stops in obvious places and there, so if we can take those out, you get some sort of move. But then you'd be aware of any change, new day, new 60, because a good chance of a 3-week pattern. So you prefer that one to the downside. If we go to Natty. Hey, you guys, ow. There's the big weekly triangle here, and the you guys, and Natty would be RevStrat daily downside to try and continue this stuff. Let's make sure you can see all these babies. Bam, 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 down in here. Now it would be 2-bar inside pattern, but a RevStrat inside day and countered by the shooter to try and take it back down. If you go to RRC Natty, here, inside week to see if this puking continues. If you go to EQT, you'll see the same. EQT, however, here you goes daily, would be RevStrat to the upside. So on the natty stuff, we can be looking easier way. And if you look at Cheniere, ow, ow. Did used to be somebody, but then you've had this corrective activity. If this is the corrective activity of the real move, you could have all sorts of problems dropping through that stuff. And you got a weekly momentum shooter here to do that if they want to try and take this range out. Once again, broadening formation here, attempts to get out, gets back in, and therefore we would want to be aware of something like this for Cheniere. If we go to the refiners to Soro, inside week, still all this tight range of stuff. Outside week, inside week to try and get out of this thing as they continue to try and walk back up the debacle here, right? Trying to walk back up, but it is inside week. You've got MPC as an inside week here to try and get out of this tight range as well. And once again, trying to slowly walk back up after this, all right? So far, so good. But you've got inside weeks, and Valero much closer to, the recent highs than anything else. So that's on the move, just a momentum hammer there. If we go to WNR also here on the inside week. Triangle becomes support. Remember, the lines move up. Now an inside week here for WNR. If you go to HFC, You can see how stuck this thing's been. Now an outside week. And so they took out both sides of all these guys, right? Which is oftentimes what's going to happen when you have a tight range. Still basically doji on the month, and you can see stuck down in all this business. So we'll see how the other ones go, if there's any hope. If this thing's the whipping boy of the inside month down here, and then this consolidation down sideways measured move, and really clock this baby, or try and come back up into this stuff. And we'll watch them all as a big old group. If you got a TRP, the pipeline, look at pipeline right now. It's not quite an inside month and down, but it does come into this stuff, and it is inside week momentum shooter if it's trying to take this range back and extend it further. All right, if we go to the IBB, gets them good in here, does not take out the lows, so this is technically a higher low as it rallies back into here. We've been watching this weekly for a while because we got the running formation in here. If you go that monthly, here was the problem, that we've gotten that, stop them out, peak, and then up into here trying to do it again, but so far reclaims this stuff, and that's good. Now it's an outside month. Potentially that's good. Remember that daily here. Like so, bam, 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 then falling apart, but then gets back up into here. And so on the Trump gapper, but a little bit tricky in here, and it's been case-by-case basis, but we want to see if it can muster all the way back up into there. How's it going to get out of this stuff? You got momentum hammer daily to start off the day and the week. If you go to GILD, remember GILD here, tries to go to lows now, outside month, another fractal triangle. That can't change. And on the weekly, goes down, but then gaps back up into this stuff. So how can we get through all these things in here? It's still tight on the daily. So you go to the daily, that's why there's so many lines, because it's so tight. Usually if you're trying to micromanage, doing nothing. But triangle does come support here. It tries to hold in there. So technically almost a rev strat inside day off of that. But it's got some work to do. And because of this move, it's going to be a hard time not being an inside week. So unless it can take that out or that out, it's going inside week. And that means you can get chopped up in there. So you want to be real careful on that. If you go to BIIB weekly, got them, but good down in here she did. Here's this, 1, 2, 3, 4, gets through it, comes back, takes these guys out, momentum shooter, outside bar, and then rallies right back. And remember on the daily, we're watching this one forever. Here to see if it's continued those lower triangles down, then here's the lower one, and that was it. The outside bar, the gap, and now trying to take this stuff out, and once again, outside month. So no new actionable signals there, unfortunately. If we go to Celgene last week, albeit a gapper, was inside week to the upside, all right, and that's good. You're trying to get through all this stuff. And on the daily here, 2-bar inside pattern. 2-bar inside pattern, rev strat to the upside, inside day countered with hammer, but you still got to get out of this range, period. And that's the truth. Goes the monthly. Hammer up, that's good. All right, you can see it's acting much better. Unfortunately, most of it was on a gap. So the problemos, if it drops in, you got an inside month coming in December. But we'll see how that rev strat goes come Monday morning. Obviously, things are moving around enough to take certain things out, so we'll see. Go to Amgen. And Amgen, once again, took these guys out to the upside, these guys out to the downside, now trying to come back up into the range. Your weekly looks like this. Here's that tighter triangle, comes back, takes all this stuff out, and now fighting to get back up into here. And so, like the Celgene, you've got the rev strat day, but at this point, you're closer to taking this out. And the reason that's good is that people put their stops in obvious places, and if it's green on the month and the week and the day and the 60, then you got natural buyers in there, and you got 3 levels of stops to take out and go boom, 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 come up into the gap. So we'll see how that goes come Monday morning. Amgen, if you go to Regeneron Regeneron got them good, and this is what we were waiting for. Here's that weekly broadening formation, and it went out and it took out the lows. Nothing for anybody to be long against. Everybody's gone, and then boom, right back up. And the outside day calls the low, fractal triangle, and then comes back up. And here now you got hammer, counter, shooter. And like a lot of these things, they've had big runs. They have these signals. How far they're going to go on Monday, it's anybody's guess. So if we go to EW, ew. Oh, they used to love her. And now taking all this stuff out, the question, can it reclaim this business in here? Now you got an inside week to see if it's going to get worse and go down, sideways, measured move and get clobbered here, or if there's any hope to bring it back. If you got ICPT, inside week, and it can have a good chance of going inside week, so you want to be careful on that. Because even if it takes this is a big move. So potential inside week stuff like that. So nowhere near taking this week out. So you want to be aware of that. If we go to CHRS, they had the bad news, right? And they pummeled it. But if it's so bad, how come it came back up, right? Went inside day, rev strat day to the upside. Now inside day here. And to see if so right now it's back green on the month. So we want to see if this can take this baby back, take these guys out, and challenge this stuff. But an inside day to start off CHRS, or who knows, roll down and peak. If we go IDXX, here, IDXX, inside day. And so the question is, was this the corrective activity? It had the huge run up, still higher than that. And here's this outside bar you want to get out of. It went up there, but didn't stay there. But now you got an inside day to either re-challenge that or drop back in off of that, because you go to the weekly. Here you can see this got them all good in here, but starting off right here, we'll watch that inside day IDXX. ILMN, Piggy, and on the big gap or down, remember the monthly, peak, and on the daily, this would be a rev strat to the downside if they want to finish him. But you still got to get outside of this bar. But inside day, counter with shooter, that's rev strat downside. If we go to IONS, inside day, and this baby coming out of the ashes. But good. Monthly bright green outside month back to the upside. Certainly it's still the lower highs. And you can see that inside month was a butte there. The monthly shooter down. The inside month calls the lows. And now it's an outside month back to the upside. Now obviously it's had a huge move here to expand this daily triangle like this. But it is an inside day, and we'll see how they play out. The other problem here would be the slight higher high to make a bigger triangle like that. But you can see this bam, 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 momentum hammer and gone. All right, so but inside day for IONS. MYGN. Ow. Yeah. Ow. But you hit these babies right here on the monthly. Here's your upper level triangle expansion off the inside month, peak. And now, inside week, see if they've done what they're going to do to her and try and bring her back up through this stuff. See that inside week down there. All right, so it's acted pretty well off the insiders. Inside week, MYGN. SRPT Sarepta. Eesh. So the thing about the Sarepta is this big bar in here. All right, if you go to that daily, you remember this thing, this huge bar here, and then it comes back into the range. So we want to see what is this in here? Is this going to continue to do this, all right? And it would be very easy to stay short if it didn't do this first, right? But now, I want to see if that thing can drop back in on all this stuff, because on the weekly, what it does here, that causes the shooter counters hammer. Tries to hammer, doesn't work. Now goes shooter, 2 levels of stops to try and see if it can take this whole bar back. And oftentimes we've seen that. So we'll look for setups to take out last week's lows and Sarepta. Go to Teva. Teva inside week and still having all sorts of problems here. As you can see that, still nothing doing for the Teva, but it is inside week, so we'll see if they can do anything off of that. Speaking of EU, VRX actually goes hammer. So if they want to start saying maybe there's a chance, you're saying there's a chance, I'm saying there's a chance because it's a weekly hammer above 1963. And on the daily, that would bring it up into back up into this range here to see if they can triangle them all the way back through that stuff, or if they just come up and fill the gap and then repuke. But there's a chance. If we go to Techland, XLK, inside day, and you can see here the XLK. Doji week, did nothing, all right? How do you get out of this stuff? And how do you not be an inside week? You got to take this stuff out. You're starting off as an inside day, and you got SMH here, a little better. You know, the outside week to the upside potential hammer, and inside day. All right. And the great thing about the tech land, once again, when you go way back yonder in the pawpaw patch, used to be a lot higher. If you remember old Qsers when they were way up there, and then we took the Qs ticket out. But here, I mean, there's still, well, the monthly, if this is really just turning around, you know, it's not too far-fetched to have things take out the highs. But it starts off as an inside day. Let me shrink that back down for you. So if we take a look at the Fanger stocks, Facebook Face Planter, on the monthly, you know, it's corrective action. It's normal within this, but you are bright red on the month with the Dow going to new highs and stuff like that. So that is still a problem. If you go to the weekly, here the question is, is this exhausted and you can try to move higher? You got an inside day. Here, the problem is how are you going to get outside of this outside day? And that's what you really want to know. And so oftentimes people are like, I can't chase it now. I'm like, that's exactly when you want to go after it. Because you get down in here, you can get chopped up. You got an inside day, though. We'll see how that goes. If you go to Amazon, inside day. So you'd prefer this one to the downside. It is blood red on the month, and so you'd prefer the down sideways measured move and take the inside day and really pummel this thing. Because if it goes up, you're going to have a tough time taking that out. And so we'll see how that goes. All right, if we go to Goog, testing the bottom of this triangle, that's somewhat positive. It's still here on the month. Weekly or monthly shooter down takes these 3 months out. It'll be a tall order to take this out because now you've taken these guys out. So on the weekly, you'll see this. How do we get out of this? All right. Does it expand back down into here, or does it kick back up a little bit? We'll see how those other inside days go with the Goog and the other things. Netflix, talked about this last week about potential problem here because on the monthly, it rockets but it doesn't take the highs out. Takes these guys out, but not them out. And so it starts the month. It's an inside month. It's going to be a hard time not being an inside month. Probably multi-months again in here. All right. So the good part about that is it can reverse at any time because it's still consolidating. But you got that big thing going here. You come into the gap here, so you stop out anybody here who's got any stops off of that. Doji on the day. So does it come into the gap? Don't know. We'll have to play that with momentum and see how it goes. If you go to Western Digi goes inside week. Western Digi trying to come back. And you can see this here becomes support, tests it. Now inside week, got to get outside of this stuff, but you're an inside week there. Once again, Western Digi used to be somebody and fighting on the comeback trail. An inside week there, and you can watch that STX with that. STX doesn't have any actionable signals, but used to be somebody as well. And on the daily, you'll see this comes through these guys. Now the question is set up to take all this stuff out. If we go to Texas Instruments, Texan in the semis, inside day in the middle of this stuff is be the problem, but you potentially have that inside week to take out, and you can see all this here. All of this is completely within this bar's range. That is an issue until that gets taken out, but you got the actionable signals to try and do it. If we go to NTAP inside week, and the question is if they got them good here and they're going to slingshot her back up, monthly, peak, then come back up and trying to go green on the month, and you've got an inside day here to try and recapture all this stuff. Come Monday morning, like see. If we go to Symantec, inside week here, and we're just gonna watch any of these actionable signals, but not too much else there. If we go to Adobe drops in outside week to the downside, and monthly is still monthly shooter down. And you got an inside day. So the question is, what is this? Come back into this gap or try and reclaim all this? And once again, if it goes up, that's an issue because you're going to have a tough time taking this bar out. You'd prefer the down sideways measured move and clobber this thing. If we go to analog devices, that's semi. And that's an inside day closer to the recent highs. And the reason that's good is because you've got this monthly hammer you can take out these guys here. with that inside day and its momentum hammer here, outside hammer to the upside. So ADI, all right. Amba. And Amba says, I used to be somebody too. There was a time. So the question here is, you can see this lower level monthly triangle, the Rev Strat month here, got them going. Now drops back in, takes a bunch of this stuff out. Now trying to come back green on the month. And you got a weekly slightly lower low hammer to try and take that out. So we'll see how that hammer plays out in AMBA. ANET, still hanging near the recent highs. And going inside day to take a shot at all this stuff. So we'll see how that goes. If we go to AVGO. AVGO, this triangle's tight. And this is a bit of an issue because you've got this this inside month, outside month, right? So it's already taken out both sides, and that's why you're going to have a daily triangle look like this. So it is inside day, but we're going to be real careful when you see a triangle this tight in here. How's it get out of here, and does it stay out? Does it go inside day and go ripping back towards these guys, or does it try and expand down? But you got an inside day to gauge that to start the week. BABA, and down goes BABA, and BABA is still inside month and down here, right? So as long as that condition exists, we're going to be aware of it. The good thing for BABA is the weekly took all this stuff out and nowhere near that. So if that's the lower low, you got a slight daily hammer to try and counter back up. If we go to Baidu, Baidu is also inside month to the downside, but you can see how this thing is just tightening into here. Really want to get outside of all this stuff. We're nowhere near it, but right now it is month and down, so we'll respect that. FEYE, coming out of the ashes, and FEYE is inside day to see if it can reclaim all this gap and go. Inside day up, inside day to see if it can continue up here, because you do have the cyber. Also an inside day trying to get back up into all this business. Your problem would be the slight higher high here, but you got actionable signal to challenge that as well. If we go to Teradyne, interesting here. Teradyne Semiconductor, you can see comes up in here, holds inside day, all right, near the highs. And if you go back to, speaking about used to be somebody, Teradyne. Oh, yeah. Teradyne used to be somebody. So if this is really just warming up after years of doing this, start challenging anything up into here, that would be very nice. All right, if we go to HPE, HPE just slightly inside month and up. So just keep that on the watch list. Inside month and up and an inside day potential combo there. If we go to SWKS, once again, this tight triangle stuff can be an issue. It is real tight in here. Right? It's chopping them up, but good. And so you want to be real careful in something like that. On the longer term, we'll look at it like this. If they want to bring it in, you do have the shooter counters hammer after taking these guys out. So we'll be aware of that. But just like that AVGO, you want to be real careful on that stuff. If you go to Juniper, Juniper going to have a tough time not being an inside month, but it does set up here with the Rev Strat week. And so if it's not going to be an inside month, that's what would do it. Rev Strat, 2-bar pattern within here. We're trying to take that, and that. So we'll see how Juniper plays out. If you go to MU, and MU, once again, used to be somebody, and now trying to pull this inside weaker here to try and finally get out of all this range. But once again, MU used to be somebody and then some, but 100, remember? So, all right. We go to Priceline. Priceline, outside month, so far to the upside, but on the daily pattern, you got this. Inside, outside, inside. How do you get out of here? How do you get out this inside? How do you get outside this outside bar? So the main thing with Priceline, you just want to be careful because it's going to have a hard time not being an inside week this week. If we go to Qualcomm, here is just on the daily. Here, you're going to see this business in here. This is higher than that, which is good. Just an inside day. Would need to get outside of the outside day. And Corvo was here going month and down, but comes back into the range. It's potentially good for a Rev Strat because on the daily, you're going to see this. Here, it gets the triangle, gets back up into it, and now goes inside weak. Here if it wants to challenge. Now, once again, that outside week is going to be tough to get out of. So you want to be aware of that. But it is inside week in the Corvo. If we go to the home builders, XHB, the question here is if they finally put in this slight lower low on the weekly here and come back. If we look at ITB here. We can see that kind of stuff. How do we get out of this? And we finally started to put in some sort of lows there. But if you look at the stocks, you got Weyerhaeuser's an inside week momentum shooter to the downside. And it's presently inside month and down, so that would have to change. If you go to KBH holding better. You can see this 4 or 5 month range in here would still be trying to hold on to that. If you go to the weekly, here, if they triangle these guys out and can start making a run back up into there, that would be good. If you go to the daily, you'll see the triangle a little clearer like this. Like so. So we'll see how KBH plays out with those guys. You got DHI, PIG, still trying to go towards these recent lows. Like so, in an inside day. So that's having some issues here. That was also RevStrat week to the downside last week. Lennar, here you can see this once again, tight range, but it did test all this stuff and reclaim this. So not uncommon to at least try and take this stuff out, but still a lot of work to do over there. If you go to Pultehome, same deal, this lower level stuff. How do you get out of here? And so far has not, but certainly we're going to keep an eye on all these ranges in the home builders as we walk along. WLH here, William Lyon Homes. It's actually RevStrat month to the upside, so keep an eye on that. All right, just a few more in today's epic poem, but there's a lot. This video is going to last you a long time because there's a lot of good stuff in here. If you go to HLF, HLF is RevStrat month to the downside. Inside month, 2 month inside pattern, takes the inside up. Boom, 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 they're gone. And now going inside week to see if this can continue this lower or pulls back up into the try. If we go to URI is just inside month and up. Here, RevStrat month to the upside, SBAC, inside month to the downside. That was a great all week last week. ENB is presently inside month to the downside, but hasn't taken this out just yet, but is also an inside week potential combination there. If we go to Archer Daniels Midland, ow! Ow! And so when they get them that good, and they're coming back into this range, not uncommon at all to take this range out, and maybe that. So if you look at the daily, they gap them up and then bring it all the way back into here. That's a real problem. So we look for further setups to take out that whole range back down to the downside. If we go to dry ships, here she comes, right? And dry ships, it does this fairly often on the monthly every once in a while. You'll see this here every once in a while. But if you go to DSX, Diana Shipping is actually inside month and up. And so I'm going to respect that. If all these used to be somebody's, and I know that every once in a while they have their pops, but it is inside month and up, so that signal is in force. If we go to EQIX, another pig, you get this month rally up and this thing going towards the lows, and inside day to try and do the continuation move down. EQIX intra-ball, but inside day. If you go to FSL YAR, triangle needed to grow, didn't it? Inside day. And here's when I talk about the triangle needs to grow. There she blows in all her beauty. Boom, 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 boom. Gets out, takes all these guys out, and then boom, takes the whole triangle right back to the downside. Now inside day FSLR. You can watch the JKS Solar here. Yeah. JKS is still inside month and down. If she's going to zero, that's what it'll look like. If we go to the Hunger Games, LGF, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 months in in this range. However, it is presently RevStrat month to the upside. Inside month countered with the hammer back in and trying to come back up. And so on the tighter daily triangle stuff, you got this here, but it looks like this. She starts making a run. Oops, it's even bigger. Like so. If we go to SIMO, SIMO, you'll see this here on the monthly. Big dumper off of this range, but takes a lot of this stuff out and goes slight lower low and comes back into the range. That's potentially good. So if you look at the weekly, you'll see this. Inside week, outside week hammer. So that's a 2-bar RevStrat actually, but it's also momentum. It's also a hammer. to try and expand the triangle, because we know it's a triangle because it's an outside bar, which means here. Bam, 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 to try and get through that stuff. So above that hammer would look interesting. SEMO. And SYNA, SYNA. On the gap downer here, but once again, if there's any hope, it is Rev Strat weak here. Inside weak countered with hammer if they want to bring it back up. Tenneco, TEN. Rev Strat weak off the potential bottom of the triangle here to try and pop that thing back up. TWLO, oh boy, still peg. And still red on the month. And the daily inside day, if there's any hope. But you can see how beautiful this thing has been on the short side. We'll see how that inside day goes. Just ACIA, they like to look at that thing too. And ACIA right now, the best it can muster is doji month. So we'll see. If you go to UNFI, that's inside month and up, to keep an eye on there. Win Resorts, test the top of this monthly range, now test the bottom of it. So the question is going to be able to come back up, and if indeed it's going to, it goes daily hammer, and if you take the hammer out, you're going to see where it lands. Right like so. Potential bottom of the triangle, daily hammer, win. Last but not least, Tesla. And Tesla, here, remember we were watching this, here. 1, 2, 3, 4 months within this bar's pattern. Outside month last month, and it's still below that. So that's still triangle expansion below that. But if you can retake this, if you can retake back into this range, that would be positive. Right now it's still trying to drop in. If you go to the weekly, inside week. So how do we get out of this? Do we go inside week and that was it, and now you can come back up into this stuff, or inside week and start to expand again? So, like I said, it's a little longer this week, but there's a lot to keep an eye on, and this video will last you quite a while to reference. And so oftentimes what people will do is write down the times that I talk about stuff so you can refer back to it without having to watch the whole thing over again, although that's not the worst thing in the world either. All right, that's going to do it for this week. I'm Rob Smith, the Black Quant Edge VTF at T3 Live, here with this week's market breakdown video.